So here's a frustrating situation that happened. During the podcast with Dan Cusack, we had a drama with the video feed. The audio is absolutely mint, but the video feed after we cut away to the computer to check out some of Dan's cool work, it just doesn't come back synced. So the video after a certain point in the podcast is a no-go. Good opportunity for us, though, to put out to everyone. We have released the podcast onto Spotify. So you can check it out on Spotify. I think it might be on Apple Music as well, is it? Apple? Just Spotify. There you go. So you don't have to see me. You can just listen to my beautiful voice. So jump over onto Spotify and you can listen to the podcast while you're driving along. It was a really, really fun and exciting podcast with Dan. We get into all different sorts of things. Really enjoyed it. And what I want to say is, look, I am really, really enjoying the podcasting. I'm enjoying talking to different people. I'm enjoying YouTube. It's been a fun experience so far. I'm learning a lot. It is frustrating, though, because you only get one go at sitting down here and recording everything and putting it all together. But we're enjoying the journey. I mean, it is frustrating, but we are enjoying it. So, yeah, we've got a lot of podcast guests to come. The goal is 25 podcasts at this moment, and we're just going to keep trucking along. We've got another podcast this Thursday with a very cool Canberran who is building cool stuff. So looking forward to that one. Tune in for that next week when we release that. And if you are interested in coming in to have a chat with me, get in touch. Send me an email. Reach out to me on Instagram. Check it out. YouTube, Spotify. And we're live. We're on. All right, let's do this. Today on the Xav Builds Podcast, I'm joined by a bloke who's quietly flipping the script on what it means to work in the landscape and horticulture, to work in city.
You said you would.
Every time. Dan Cusack, better known as the Plant Man. He's the founder of Get Plants Delivered, a business that basically go into... Tell us about it, Dan.
Well, it's a plant broker. So it's the middleman from wholesale nurseries to people that need plants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably the best way to explain it.
Yeah.
I shop around for plants and deliver them to people who need them.
You're not just moving soil and succulents, though. You're building a movement around reconnecting people with nature, reducing stress through greenery, and making plant care actually feel approachable. He's also the voice behind Dan the Plant Man podcast, where he sits down with tradies, growers, and green thumbs to talk about all things life, business, growing better in every sense of the word. If you ever thought plants were just nice to have, this episode might change your mind. Great to have you in, Dan.
Yeah, good
Thanks
to be
for being
here,
mate.
Thanks, mate. Glad to be here.
When I caught up with Nick Ivey, he mentioned you. How do you know Nick?
Yeah, so we, jumping way ahead now, but before landscaping, I worked at the University of Canberra doing live music events. Yep. And he was there with the students abroad program, I think he mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think I met him there or through other friends that worked there, but we also both have a shared interest in photography. So we've caught up a couple of times, fly drones around Mount Painter and just hung out. So kept in touch. And so, yeah, I've only met him a couple of times. We've kept in touch. It's been cool watching what he's been up to and how he's changed from, changed careers and really doing well. So, yeah, that was a good chat. Actually, I really enjoyed that one too.
Thank you. Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's a really cool dude.
Lots of energy, lots of passion. Good to see.
What got you into photography?
I can't pinpoint that. I don't know. Just like any interest, I guess. Just curiosity. Just follow my intuition. It's a good creative outlet. You can get a bit lost in photography, which I really enjoy. And I've managed to kind of combine that with other passions around music as well. So a bit of music photography, travel photography, and now doing some sort of project photography for landscapers and stuff as well. So, yeah, it's a great outlet. It's a nice way to just slow down and focus on something creative.
Yeah, I think looking at everything you put your mind to, it's very clear that you've got this artist type vibe. Mm. Do you think that, expand it
I guess I like things done well to my own detriment. I think you might be sort of thinking about the branding and stuff, I assume, which is... Yeah.
I think everything you put your hands to, it seems like you've got this real finesse, this real eye for detail, you know, and I think that shows through all this stuff. And, you know, you've got these creative outlets that you really pour a lot of time and effort into.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think I've never really like considered myself a creative because I've always been surrounded by like really exceptional graphic designers and people who animate things and stuff like that. But I definitely have some creative outlets, I guess. But I think at that job at the University of Canberra, there was a new business arm called UC Live. And Tim and Colin from InkLab, who are awesome.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
They were engaged to like rebrand it. And even before that, I guess in school, I had a bit of an interest around business. But being a part of that like rebrand launch for the university, like I was really invested in how important like establishing a strong brand is. And ever since then, I guess, even with Revive and other businesses, I've just wanted to have like a clean brand, and I just know how important it is to sort of get that out there in the public.
I think for all your work, it really sets the tone. You know, I look at the stuff that you do, like, you know, your signature block in your email, it looks cool.
Yeah, I always get help. And I'm sure you do this with your trade business too. Like I always contract people in, and the same with design. Like I take no credit for that design aesthetic, but I engage good people. So the branding behind Get Plants Delivered and Housemates was done by Good Times Creative, Benny and Jess, and they're geniuses. Like they come up with cool, quirky branding, and I'm happy to like. I think one thing I do well is I throw people trust. I'll be like, you guys are good at what you do. Here's my business idea. Like, see what you come up with. And quite often people are like, we don't get this much free reign. I'm like, I'm not going to constrict a creative person. Like, I want to let them have, you know, the freedom to do what they do. So maybe that's something that I guess I do well, but that's nothing in my opinion. Like, I'm just letting them do their job. And then obviously a bit of back and forward with ideas and stuff. But yeah, I think it's fun. Like it's nice to have something out there you're proud of.
Definitely. Now let's get into how you got started in horticulture and landscaping. Like what drew you in there?
Yeah. Well, I think ever since I was in college, like I always knew I wanted to find a career that I was interested, like that was satisfying and not just about the dollar. And like I said, I did work. So I went, like before landscaping, I went to CIT and studied music business because I had an interest in sort of music as far as like I used to go to a lot of gigs and just like finding new bands. And I thought I wanted to be like a band manager or a venue manager or something because I didn't have musical talent. So music was my passion. I was pursuing that. I ended up getting the diploma, working at UC for a couple of years, but it wasn't really going anywhere, and I think I just wanted to go and do something with my hands, something outside. And at the same time, I guess I'd sort of started to develop a bit of an interest in growing veggies and compost and stuff like that. Weirdly,
did you have a green thumb from the start, or was
no? Like, there's nothing really in my family or anything like that. Like, I've listened to a heap of podcasts, and you know, sometimes like I had weekends in the garden with my grandparents, or mum used to always be in the veggie garden and cooking, but nothing like that for me. Like, it was just another one of those things that just kind of popped up, I guess. And then a lot of my mates were tradies, and none of the other trades really appealed to me. Like, my brother's a chippy, heaps of mates, sparkies, plumbers, concreters, whatever. And I just thought I liked the idea of being able to do something with your hands, be outside, be around nature, and to eventually get a skill set that you can turn into a business. So there's always been like that business kind of interest, I guess. So that's kind of how it happened. And I guess naively, when I was in my early 20s, just applied for a job with a landscaper for labouring, and did that for a while, and then I guess the rest is sort of moved on from there.
Was there a specific like aha moment? This is my thing. I want to have a real go at it.
I've heard you ask that before, and no. I still think I'm looking for that, to be honest. Like, I think I'm actually someone who has probably gets a bit anxious about their career. Like, I really think my expectations of like life satisfaction out of my work is pretty high. Probably too high. Like, I think I have mates that I'm a bit envious of because they seem to have a really healthy relationship with their job. Like, that's my job, and then I switch off. Whereas I'm like, no, I want to have a happy life, and a big part of that is work. So I need to find something I'm engaged with. So I haven't really found like an aha moment. Like, I definitely think for the first couple of years it was really satisfying moving from that office job. Like, that stuff Nick was talking about was very relevant for me too. Like, you kind of 4 o'clock rolls around and you're like, I guess it's time to go home. Like, yeah, you've been busy, but like, what have I done? Whereas moving into landscaping, you can physically see what you've done. You're mentally, you're gaining skills, you're developing, you feel like you're evolving.
You're thinking all the time out on site.
Yeah. And
not that you're not in an office, but it's just way different.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Yeah, and so yeah, that aha moment's still there. But I think, if anything, to be honest, probably the more the aha moment the last couple of years that I've moved into plant brokerage, because I'm able to kind of combine a lot of skills that I have and connections, and it's got a good mix between like physical work, because it's still quite physical, a lot of networking, a lot of communicating with people and friends in the industry, and there's still a bit of creativeness to it as well. So and scalability around it as well. So this feels like it's more of an aha kind of business idea that I'm pretty excited about. So, yeah.
I would say that you're an operator. What I mean by that is like you're someone that can solve problems quickly and you love a challenge.
Yeah.
And you love work as well, and you love working hard.
Yeah.
And and when I say like all of your stuff is so neatly done, and it's you just have that really cool eye for detail.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think I've always had high expectations, so probably to my own detriment as far as trying to make money. But
yeah,
I'm still proud of everything we've done, so that's important.
Yeah, but you know the kind of guys I'm talking about, like
100%.
Operators, like whatever they touch, it seems to be run well. You have good systems, you have good processes behind it. Yeah. You know what you're talking about, and you're a really good networker as well.
Yeah,
like I've known about you for a long time, and I've known you're a good operator, and you care for the people that you work with. I think that's really important.
Yeah,
that's a lot of the feedback I get about you.
No, that's good. Yeah, I mean, I think when I was kind of coming to the end of Revive, the chapter of landscaping, my partner is a consultant. She kind of consulted me on like, well, let's think about what you want to do next, and like let's spitball, what's important to you. And one of the things that popped up was connection, because that's something that is pretty high on my list. Like I wanted to find a career or a business that had a lot of connection involved with it. So that's always been in me, I think. Like, and we can probably go into this later, but like connecting with other businesses, like you don't have to feel so alone. Like as soon as you have a chat to another landscaper about something you're struggling with, like at least you know that they're sort of battling with it as well, or you can hopefully try and make it a bit easier for both of you. Like I've just forever been that way, I guess.
Yeah, and again, like going back, like sort of the reason why I wanted to start a podcast and get people like yourself in and talk about the challenges that we're facing, and and also talk about the good stuff, because I do feel like there's so much negativity around at the moment, and I'm fed up with it. I want to talk about cool, positive things. I want to help people talk about their business and what they're passionate about, because it's obvious to me that you're very passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
But what drew you into horticulture? Through you went landscaping, great, tick that off, and then into horticulture, love the connection with people, but plants specifically.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know the timeline, but I'd just been doing landscaping for a bit, and there was always like this thought or saying like plant day is the best day. Like the day that plants arrive, you're at the end of the project, you're sick of looking at dirt and pavers and concrete. Plants come in, you green it up and it starts to look alive. And I just always enjoyed that. I think a lot more than probably some other landscapers. Like there's definitely landscapers that are just like, I know nothing about plants, like whatever, I want to come and build this wall. For me, I was a bit sick of building the walls and stuff. I just wanted to focus more on plants. But while I had the landscaping going, I started doing living walls, or trying to. Wasn't really a market for it. But as part of that journey, I started just finding out about some cool indoor plants and all this different stuff that I'd never seen. And again, like I definitely wouldn't really call myself like a plant nerd or anything. There's something a bit innate about plants that is quite interesting. It's a bit of a design thing, I think. Like there's so many different textures and foliages and colors, and yeah, just aesthetically quite interesting. So I did start Housemates with the idea of basically an e-commerce business where you could, the theory was people just log in, buy the plants they want online, I deliver it, and you make millions. But it was just logistically incredibly challenging, but that was more of, I guess, a thought around a plant-based business. And then as time's gone on, it's just sort of naturally progressed into what I'm doing now, which is, I guess, all plants, indoor or out. But I'm finding a really good niche with outdoor plant supply. And I'm actually, it's funny, like I'll talk to my partner, like, what did you do today? I got to go to, nurseries and walk around and pick up plants, and it's actually not too bad. Like, yeah, the truck driving can be a bit bad, but like it's a great industry. Like there's such lovely people in the landscaping and hort industry. So that's made it easy to be involved in. And I don't know. It's not like a clean answer, but it's just nice. I think it's a good thing for the planet. Like, yeah. Let's get more definitely. Plants.
Well, I mean, like we've got a plan here.
Yeah,
like, I think for me, plants, the coolness about them is that all of the landscapers that I work with, they love planting day. That's like their favorite day. And as you said, it brings the project to life.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing about landscaping that I love is that you start from hardscaping, then you work into some softscaping, and then the plants are the bow tie, so to speak.
Yeah, that's a good way to put
it. Like baking a cake almost.
Yeah.
You get to the end of it and you put the icing on, and that to me is the plants.
Yeah.
And that's the cool part.
It is cool. And I think one of my CIT teachers, Scott Umbers, he had a famous saying like, we're the only trade that when we finish, we leave a living product.
Yeah.
And that adds a lot of challenges because, well, for one thing, it doesn't look good for a couple of years a lot of the time, or as good as it does. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, it does need nurturing and tendering. And like when I was doing the indoor plants, like people get really anxious about their plants. And like, I think part of my message that you kind of touched on at the start is, and why I got picked up was like, I was really trying to change people's mentality around that. Like, just stress less. Like, it's just a plant. Like, if it dies, it's fine. But think about how much how it makes you feel. And I know for me, like, I've dabbled with green walls and indoor plants at home. And once you take the plant out of the room, I think then you notice how much difference it kind of made on like the tranquility and kind of just, nice feelings that it can have. So you can read all that stuff about air quality and stuff, but really for me, it's just how it makes you feel, I guess.
I think they provide a softness.
Yeah.
And the other side of like design in people's homes with landscaping that are heavily planted is that it's forever changing.
Yeah.
You've got 4 different seasons.
Yeah.
So your garden can look, completely different in the middle of summer to the middle of winter, autumn, and spring, completely different. I think that's so cool. And like the real plant nerds that can design that, and know exactly what it's going to look like. I think that's really awesome. I love design. Stephen from Thursday Architecture had a good chat with him, and when I feel like really good design invokes a feeling.
Yeah.
And I feel, when you go and see a really well manicured garden, like Floriade, for example, like I don't know what it is. It's like you feel relaxed and you feel calm.
You've just basically repeated what I had this conversation with Dom Galloway from Garden Space. He's a landscape architect who I've done a bunch of gardens with, and I'm trying to still learn about plant design because it's a beast. Like to think about exactly what you said: seasonality, heat, shade, frost, texture, like it's a lot. And he said that I said, "How do you think about plant design?" And he said exactly what you just said. Like I think about how I want the garden to feel, and then I choose my plants around that. But he still said he'll spend a full day at least on a plant schedule. And I think that's something that people need to probably appreciate a bit more, how much work and skills involved in actually creating that space. Because you think about like the show gardens, Floriade, like people spend a year, or like, Edinburgh, like people spend, Chelsea Flower Show, people spend a year and a half or more planning that garden. Like there's no fluke that it looks so good. I love design as well. And I definitely appreciate like the skills people can bring to stuff like that.
I feel design is an element that I guess people need to pay a little bit more attention to when they're, designing a new landscape for their home, or the inside of their home. Like you always hear, put a plant there, and the reason for that I feel is that like that adds interest. It adds a talking point. Like we walked in here and I was like, hey, look, we do have some plants in here.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right, let's go to some of your signature gardens or indoor projects. Let's talk about those. Should we pull some up on
sure.
All right, let's do that. So throw it over, Ron. This is a new thing we got happening here. Now, this is the InStyle Garden Show 2023. Did you photograph this?
I photographed it and helped for a day or two. I want to be straight up front and say I did no more work in this. This is actually Joel Barnett from InStyle. He has the landscaping podcast.
Yeah.
So I just sent you this as a bit of an example of Mifkus. So this, off the back of what we just said, like...
This is hectic, dude.
Yeah, I can't really speak on behalf of Joel, but I know he invested hundreds or thousands of hours in this, and I basically just reached out to him and said, hey, man, like, I'd be happy to come down and give you a hand for a couple of days. Just out of that sort of curiosity, I wanted to see how they come together and just be a part of it, get to know some more people. And it was an awesome experience. Like, I think I helped him out for 2 days, but just seeing it come together and...
well, the different textures here is what I love.
Mate, I think he won... It might be a photo of it. I think he won silver or something. Like, he did pretty well. But it cost him a bomb. Not just time, but time, money. Like, even things like that cloud olive on screen now, like, that's probably a $2,000-3,000 tree. And the only way he could do that really is by buying it, for the show, and then he used it in his front yard because he was building his own home.
Right.
So, but yeah, beautiful plant
There's
choice.
a lot of time cultivating that.
Oh yeah, that's why it's so expensive. It'd be, I don't even know, a few years old.
As soon as you say cloud tree, anything, that's add 3 zeros to the back.
I've actually got a cloud camellia I'm picking up next week for a client, which should look pretty cool on a new project. But yeah, they're a bit in style at the moment. Use the pun.
What's this ground cover here? Because I feel like these ground covers are really becoming
I think
super popular.
Yeah, there's either grass or dichondra. I can't remember what he used in this.
Yeah.
There might be some native violet there as well. So I actually installed them. So they're in plant tiles. So you can buy them in like 300 by 300 squares, like 30 mil thick or whatever, and you just cut them and put them in place. So they're a bit more expensive, but when you're doing something like this, like they look awesome. But this is I love this style. This is like a very heavy kind of perennial, colourful mix. Lots of grasses, colours, foliage. Like he's done it. Yeah, he deserves to win some awards for this.
There's so much detail in it. The more you look here, like you've got these ones here, you've got this back here.
It's unreal. And he had a whole corner. I think maybe there's a photo where he had a whole corner with just like maroon coloured foliage. And the bath is cool, like that bath and shower situation's sick.
That is so cool.
I think it's just dichondra that I sort of
down here.
Yeah, I cut those around that, but yeah, it come up really nicely. But yeah, I just thought that'd be interesting to see. So, and I guess I should probably use this moment to say the Floriade stuff too. I got to chat to you a bit more about this.
Should we have a look at that? Jump over there.
Yeah, sure. So Floriade Display Gardens, this was, I think, last year. So it used to happen a while ago. I think they had, a few gardens just to sort of encourage people to, consider landscaping and to show where you can do a small space and just encourage gardening. But this was, if you scroll down, I think you might find...
Oh, this is your photography.
Yeah, but we don't want to...
that?
That's a distraction. I want to get you to the Floriade one. There it is, on the right there, bottom right.
Bottom right, yep. Here we go.
Yeah, so you've got I think it's 4 by 5 metre plot. And the way that we're doing it is we really want to showcase the landscape industry in Canberra. So we're teaming up CIT students, landscapers and designers, draw them out of a hat, or this year it's a little bit different. There's some people doing design construct. But basically you've got a 4 by 5 metre plot. We try to get as much material as we can donated by sponsors to keep costs down for the contractors, and have some judges in to kind of, basically award the winners. And it was amazing to see how versatile all the different gardens were. And just the collaboration piece on the day or the week was so cool. Like, so I didn't do one this year. I did one the year earlier, but just even working alongside your peers in the industry was awesome. Like just borrowing tools and having a yarn and, all that sort of stuff. So it's really cool. And so that was 5, I think, last year. This year there's going to be 10 gardens. So if anyone gets to Floriade, please make sure you check out the back corner.
I love Fleur's work. She really thinks outside of the box, and she jams everything in.
So hers was awesome. She really went for like a silver and blue foliage, and you can see that in the tiles, in the paint, in all the plants. And I think she got silver or something, which is well deserved. But yeah, that's another example of like a designer who's really thinking about it.
I love it. Look at the red in there.
Yeah, the senkakis look good.
How did you learn all these plant names?
Oh, mate, 14 years. Like it's a lot of it was, I'm still learning literally every day. Like there's thousands of plants, but
is it Latin? What is it?
Yeah, it's Latin, and I can't pronounce it, which is quite ironic. I need to go do some like Latin classes or something. But yeah, it's just been from years of installing plants, trying to find that plant on the list, and now it's obviously I get sent plant lists all the time, so I can identify stuff better than I used to. But honestly, my plant knowledge in the last 2 years has
exploded.
Yeah, doubled from what it did. But I've still got so much to learn, and the pronunciation is not my strong suit, that's for sure.
It's not mine either.
No, it's a hard one. When you can do it, it impresses people.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm actually working on something now. I've just kicked it off today with a VA to help me through it, but I want to create like a plant guide for Canberra.
I was just about to ask you. Talk to me about designing Canberra, because we've got like the coldest winters and then we've got the warmest summers. We've got I like to call it the best of both worlds, because you got to have the cold to appreciate the warmth.
Yeah.
How do you go with the challenge of dealing with the Canberra climate?
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it's a bit of a blessing because it gives us some restrictions to play with. Otherwise, it'd be even more overwhelming. But this is part of the reason why I want to create this plant guide, is because there's so many plants that I'll see in my travels that just would melt in our frosts. I think we have 80 frosts a year or something crazy, and we get down to like -8s, up to 40s. So it is tough, but really we probably should be using more natives that are tougher in our climate. I like a mix of both though, and I think a lot of other people do as well. But that's part of the reason why I'm creating this guide, because I want to, like, especially things like cactus and succulents. Like, I did a job for a builder recently, balcony planter, and he sent me some inspo guide, and I said, sorry, man, like, those agaves, those prickly pears, those dichondra, like, they're just not going to work.
That's the Miami style type.
Yes.
Type plant design.
So he was inspired by, who's that real famous Instagram builder up in Queensland?
Oh, in Queensland.
Future Flip.
Oh, yeah, Future Flip, yeah.
Inspired by Future Flip's style and planting and stuff, which looks awesome, but it just won't work in Canberra. So we had to come up with some stuff that would.
He loves that waterfall plant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So the cascading stuff. So we use casuarinas and rosemary and other things that will work, but they're not as cool. You know, you can use Dichondra Silver Falls, which has that silver foliage. A lot of people are familiar with that, but it dies in our frost. So on a first store balcony, you don't want to be tending to plants that are looking crap for 3 months of the year. So, I mean, to answer your question, you've got restrictions and you've got to kind of learn what works and what doesn't. And what I'm hoping to put out in the world in the next few months is a bit of a guide as to what people can use and can't use, because I can't really find it.
What's your take on good plant design and bad plant design? What does a bad plant design look like?
I mean, look, the more I look into this, there's not really a right or wrong, but I think it's what you said before. Like, it's just that harmonious design. Like, it just feels good. So there's so many different ways you can do it that there's not really a right or wrong. But I think for me, it's a nice mix of textures, form, and foliage, really. I mean, you can look into classic methods around sort of leveling things. So, you know, lower, medium, large. There's 3, 5, 7s, plant triangles, all those sort of things. But this is actually another thing that I'm trying to articulate and illustrate so I can send to clients so they can sort of be more confident doing themselves. But yeah, and it's a question I've wondered, which is why I asked my mate Dom just last week, and his response was very appropriate but didn't help me, but basically by saying it's how I want the garden to feel. So I think it's really difficult to have a quick answer for that, because I don't think there is one. I think it's experience.
Okay.
And Fleur's great because I've done a lot of plant supply for Fleur, and she leans on that silver foliage, and I really like that. So it's personal taste. But yeah, hopefully if I can create a bit of a list of guides that has kind of, it breaks it into chunks. So, you know, you've got your screening, you've got your hedging, you've got your ground cover, you've got your accents, and you kind of pick from those lists, combine it in a nice way. I mean, there's things like obviously a formal garden, you need a lot of symmetry, but perennials you're kind of doing in groups of 3, and you can kind of have, like, you might have a triangle of plants kind of opposite each other in a bit of a pathway. But it's tricky, and I'm still learning it. It's a bit of a beast, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I've asked myself the same question, and you know, I'm like, I've got my little garden at home, and I like putting in big trees. That's my yeah. The Pyrus Capital, love them. So I've got a few of those in there, but I need that mid.
Yeah.
And I love pleached. I reckon pleached looks really cool.
I think the Capitals are good to pleach, actually. Attila, the horticulturist, he's an extremely knowledgeable horticulturist in Canberra, and he's good at sharing his information, and he doesn't like the Pyrus Capitals because they have a tendency of just splitting. So they're actually a good tree to pleach because they support each other. So that might be one to consider. But it's just stuff.
That was my idea. But I've got
perfect.
10 in a row, and I'm going to pleach them all. And
that looks sick.
I think, and they get some like low level green. But like the more I'm talking to you now, I'm sort of formulating an idea in my head. I think plant design is unique to each individual.
Yeah,
and I think that if you like a style of plant design, then you could go to a designer and say, hey, I like this type of, you know, like you've a classical type, say you'd have a lot of whites in there, would you? And and then more of a modern type with a lot of texture, which would be sort of what we saw down in Melbourne.
And it's trial and error, and it's evolving. So my front yard, I've only planted out the last couple of years. I made some mistakes. I put in like a pennisetum in the middle row, which was just too tall. It dwarfs the garden, so I'm going to rip them out and try something different. I bought them in tube stock. They were inexpensive. They looked really nice last year. Now they're too big. So I'm going to change it. Like, you can dig up plants and move them around. Like, I think it's a big challenge for landscape architects to have to get it right. I think it's almost impossible.
It is.
Unless you're doing that formal style and you want it to be neatly clipped, which I think is not many people's cup of tea. I mean, I think you like it, but the amount of work involved.
The maintenance behind it. You know, most projects that we take on, everyone's low maintenance, maintenance. Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah.
Because I guess the last thing you want to be doing is one, paying for gardeners to come every 2 weeks or be out in the garden yourself, unless you're right into that sort of stuff.
But as I've said, I'm sure you have to many people, there's no such thing as a maintenance-free garden. And like
there is. That's exactly right. No such thing.
Yeah, things take work. Like if you want to get the garden that looks great, then you're gonna have to put the work in. But like that doesn't mean it's for everyone. Like people want synthetic grass and pebbles and rocks. I hate that. But if that's what they want to have, no maintenance, then sure.
Yeah. Not my type of tea.
Yeah.
I love lawn. I'm a real fan of lawn. But my mother-in-law, she is dahlia mad. So she and she works so hard on her garden.
Yeah.
And she absolutely loves the dahlias.
Yeah.
And just seeing the work that she puts in, and like I talked to her about it, she's like, I just find it therapeutic, and I love dahlias.
Yeah, a lot of people love it. I'm still sort of, again, I'm not an active gardener really because I don't have the time, but I've set my garden up with good soil, irrigation, should be mulching more often. Veggie beds are all irrigated, so I kind of just plant them and forget them. So like there's things you can do in gardening, which you and I know that actually take a lot of the harder work out of it. But if you don't enjoy it, like you don't have to do it either. It's not, not for everyone.
Plant big trees and let them go.
Let them go.
That's sort of what I'm doing at the moment.
Yeah, that's it.
Tools. Tell me about some tools or tricks of the trade that you swear by, whether it's for plant care or landscaping builds.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think about plant care, but one of the products that I was looking to sort of add to the e-commerce thing was these Japanese garden tools from Milwaukee. So they're just beautiful garden tools, like the secateurs, the shears, like they're just nice to use. That makes the whole experience really good. So I do enjoy them. But one a bit out of left field, more recently in the plant brokerage, I've had Grant Hetherington he's a metal fab guy, make me up these. He called it like a meat hook. So it's just to drag plants and trees around. Sounds like nothing, but it's a godsend for my back. So it's like the most boring tool, but honestly, like it's a game changer. So like I'm
the big
loving
40 litre,
that.
you just whack it in.
Well, it looks like that, I guess. It's just like a 600 mil stick of metal with a handle and a hook on it, so you can just drag trees. Whereas I went to so many nurseries in the last year where I'm like bending down, dragging these trees over, and like they're always like, "You need to get yourself a hook." I'm like, "Yes, I know." So shout out to Grant for finally getting me a bloody hook.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What does it take to? So you obviously on the procurement side, you get the plants in. Do you have to look after them for very long? Is there much on that side?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a beast, this new business. There's logistically a lot going on. It varies, man. Sometimes I have a dream run where I'll collect the plants and I can just drop them off the next morning if the clients are ready for it. But part of my service is the convenience of getting the plants when you need them. So if that means they arrive early and I hold on to them for a little while, that's fine. Like I do that. So yeah, sometimes 6 months ago my yard was covered in plants, sort of collated into people's orders, and water them every day. So it's a bit of work. But again, when I think about what I do with my career, I'm out there watering plants. It's not the end of the world. Like it's pretty relaxing. So yeah, I often have to sort of care for them. Generally only for a week or two. Sometimes landscapers or builders get delayed, so that can stretch out. But yeah,
always seems to be delays.
Yes, yeah. I've got some that I'm holding on to. I won't mention any names, but I've been holding on to about 3 months.
Oh yeah,
that's an exception. Hopefully that doesn't happen too often, but it's generally a week or so, and then they move on. I like to have them early too, because I got that landscaping background. I know how important it is to get plants when you need them. So part of the service is I get them ready and then deliver. So they just smash them in and be efficient.
There's two schools of thought when putting plants in, or planting days we spoke about.
Yeah.
One of those is you get the plants and you sit them there for 24, 48 hours, potentially longer. And the other one is get them straight in the ground.
Why do you want to sit them there? What's the thought there?
It's acclimatised to the... acclimatised to the area? Do you reckon that's a myth?
I think it's a myth. I've never heard it before. I think like...
You're getting the plants into Canberra, so in my mind, they're already here.
I mean,
or they're grown here.
Yeah, that's right. Well, so there's not many growers in Canberra, so a lot of the plants come out of Victoria, Southern Highlands, and around Sydney where appropriate. But I wouldn't worry about that. I think it's on the supplier to make sure they're getting plants from, like if we were getting plants from tropical Queensland, they would just die. Like that's why we have indoor plants, because they need humidity, they need a warm environment. But it's my job, and it should be, even if people are getting them from retail nurseries, it's up to the retail nursery. And of course they'd be doing this because it's in their interest. They're holding plants for weeks, months, so they're not going to buy plants that are going to die in our climate. They're just wasting money. So yeah, I think you might be overthinking that. I think it's important to get plants from similar climates, but as we've touched on, Canberra's climate's so tough, and also it's not conducive to growing plants. That's why we don't grow a lot of plants in Canberra. We're better off getting them from, so say Mornington Peninsula. It's like perfect climate for growing a lot of plants, so I get a lot of stock out of there. And even sort of southern Sydney area is not bad. Like they have a bit of humidity, but it still get a bit of cool weather. And I've actually learned cool weather is actually a bit better for growing plants because like trees, for example, grow a bit slower. You don't want sort of humidity and heat to sort of push them too quick. You don't get time to sort of train them up. But yeah, I just get them in, man. Just get them in the ground.
Get them in the ground. Yeah, don't muck around.
Yeah, don't muck around.
There's so much to horticulture and landscaping.
It's endless.
Like you think you know a fair bit about it, and then you look at plants and you're just like, oh no.
I think
I've only touched the surface here.
Yeah, I think to me, and I'm sure you, like that was part of the appeal of like landscaping you asked earlier. Like I think what attracted me to it was the diversity. And I know a lot of landscapers will repeat that. Like, you're not doing the same thing every day. You might be doing a wall one day and you're doing paving the next, and you're putting plants in, you're doing some irrigation, you're doing a bit of brickwork. Like, that's the construction side. And then horticulture, man, forget it. Like you could spend your whole life, and people do as a gardener, and they acquire all this knowledge. Like I mentioned Attila before, he's someone that I see as like a wealth of knowledge. If I have a question, I just ask him. But that's come from, I think, 25 years of either working in nurseries or being hands-on the tools. So, but for me, that's kind of important so I don't get bored.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It's intimidating because people ask you questions, you don't know the answer. But now, these days, I'm just like, I don't know, I'll find out. Like, good question.
Well, and again, from what you've been saying about, I feel like landscaping is such like a community type thing. Like I know we've got a Instagram group with a heap of landscaping businesses in there. We all talk in there. Yeah. And I feel like, it is sort of a group effort to talk about the challenges you're having and what's going on, because it's such a multifaceted sort of trade. There's so much to it. And I think you need the support of the people around you.
I think it's unique to horticulture and landscaping. You'd probably be a good person to ask because you're across a couple of industries, but I have listened to a few podcasts, and more and more again, I hear landscapers and gardeners talk so highly of the industry. So I think it might attract like more open-minded kind of folk, as opposed to say plumbing or concreting, or I don't know. Do you find a contrast with carpentry and landscaping with the kind of people involved? I know you've been connecting.
I do. Yeah. They're definitely different people.
Yeah.
Definitely different people.
Yeah.
Construction, like the carpenters are say, I don't more methodical.
Yeah.
If you want to call it like that.
Yep.
Landscapers are more out of the box thinking. How do we solve different levels, different problems, and those kinds of things?
Pretty loose.
Yeah, pretty loose. Yeah.
To our own detriment.
It's like the carpenters are like the Lego type guys, and then the landscapers would be, I don't know what you'd call it.
It makes sense. Hey, like it does. I mean, just from what I've said too, and what you've said now makes a lot of sense. Like carpentry is square, plumb, boxing.
Yeah.
That goes there, structure. Whereas I guess landscaping is a bit more scattered, creative. Like you kind of have to be flexible. So it makes sense for those personalities to get attracted to those different careers, I guess.
Definitely. And I think with landscaping as well, there's multiple different ways you can do things.
Yeah.
Multiple different products you can use. Yes, you've got that in carpentry a little bit, but it's not as open as what landscaping is.
Yeah.
So with carpentry, it's more defined. You can use steel, you can use timber, you can use
bolted down.
Yeah, bolted down. Yeah. Whereas with landscaping, you can block, you can use like timber, you can use everything.
Beauty, but yeah, blessing and a curse of landscaping is all of that stuff.
Definitely. Now I want to change gears a little bit.
Sure.
What's broken in the landscape? What's broken in the landscaping or horticulture space? What do we need to talk about? Let's solve some problems.
Look,
Dan.
I don't know. There's the first thing that comes to mind when you say that, and I don't think it's a fix all, but something you'll probably be interested in is like there's no licensing for landscaping in ACT. It seems weird, like there are in, I think it's only us in WA that doesn't have a license to be a landscaper, which the way I see that is it's a shame because it would probably garner landscapers a bit more respect. I don't want to like do the whole like it would weed out all the cowboys, because that's not the right way to think about it. I think for me it's more the mentality of like let's actually respect, like hopefully the public would respect landscapers that bit more if it was like No, I've actually got my qualifications. I've got my licenses, my insurances, because I mean, I'm qualified. I've got my Cert 3 and my diploma in horticulture and stuff, but no one's ever asked for it. I think it would probably help with, like, I hate those stories that you hear every now and then about, there seems to be a lot of landscape businesses that took the deposit and leave. If there was a way to try and govern that a bit more, that would be nice. But on the flip side of that is probably what you're dealing with in building, where there can be too much red tape.
I've actually been asked this question recently about whether landscapers should be licensed or not. And
What do you think?
And I said no. And the reason I said no was because to get right into it is I don't want the government telling me what I can and can't do. I think that if we put a license in for landscaping, then where does it end? Do we have a license for plasterers? Do we have a license for renderers? Do we have a license for, X, Y, and Z? And a license, I can see the value in it, definitely, but it's another fee that landscapers are going to have to pay, and they're going to have to transfer that onto the client. Yeah, look,
I'm on the fence with it, to be honest. Like, I'm not convinced it's a fix all, but
my idea with it, Dan, is that you be a member of the Landscape Association or someone like that, and that is sort of the governing body.
That's what they're trying to do. But as part of that, like, we're getting TLA involved in Floriade, so they need to work on their branding, if I can say it that bluntly. If they get their name out there in Canberra more, and then the members are sort of promoted more, that's a great solution. And but the TLA, the Landscape Association, they cover New South Wales and ACT, because I used to be on the board there because I pushed a bunch of stuff, and they basically said, why don't you come and join the board and discuss? And as part of that,
you did great in there.
Well, I had passion and energy at the start, but it quickly dwindled because I learned a lot about how it's sort of business first, feeling second. But I think we're 5 or 10% of their member base. So of course they're going to struggle to, really advocate here when they're very busy in New South Wales, and a lot of their revenue is going towards that. And they're a small business at the end of the day. So I learned a lot. I was pretty humbled, to be honest. My experience on the board was very humbling, because I was like, okay, I get it. Like, it's not as simple as I thought.
The TLA is doing good work.
They're doing great work, especially now with the new CEO. She's doing fantastic work, advocating for licensing, but so much more. Like, she's someone who really helps connect suppliers and get budgets and stuff for things like Floriade, and she's really passionate. She's doing trade days in ACT in New South Wales, so the future's bright for sure.
We're a member of that, but I think we need to get more involved for sure.
I think that you've said it really well there too, mate. Like, if you're a member, you can't just sit back on your laptop and say, what are you doing for us? You need to be out there, like, join the group chats, go to the members meetings, go to the trade days, go to the events. Like, I've been a massive advocate for that too.
You get out what you put in.
100%.
How are you helping shift the culture through content and business innovation?
Well, I don't know about shifting culture, but hopefully a piece of content I can have out there soon is that plant guide. I actually think that can be really impactful for...
Are you looking to do that as like an ebook or...
Yeah, PDF.
Yeah.
It'll be... Look, it's a bit of a marketing ploy, because I can offer it as like a sign up or whatever, but and also it selfishly helps me for those people that say I need some ideas on plants, because that takes a lot of time. I can be like, here's an ebook I've produced or a PDF or whatever. Like, have a look at that first. If you want to go further, we can talk about a consult. But I think that can be really cool. And
I think it can be too, because I know from myself, like, going into a nursery can be pretty intimidating if you don't know what you're looking at, or you don't know the feel you're trying to go for.
Yeah.
And I think, where you'd come in really well is that you'd bridge that gap,
Yeah.
And you can package the whole thing up in one go and say, here you go. This is what you want to go. I can get all these plants for you, and away we go.
You're also limited with a retail nursery with whatever plants they have, and the quality and the quantity. Like, the quality is normally great, and the cost can be high. But yeah, and then you got to get the plants home. So, like, I think I can fill that gap. And I guess on the content thing, like, I'm working on it, but I want to get a bit more just educational stuff out there. Like, I think teaching is a good way to learn. So if I can put out content that's about plant care or, bleaching trees, like, let's do a bit about that. Like, if I can do that sort of stuff, again, I think it'll be good for the business, but also just hopefully encourage people to garden and hopefully buy plants.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on sustainability and bringing more nature into suburban and urban areas?
Got pretty passionate about this for a while. Dom and I, again, Dom Galloway, we were chatting, and we went to some sort of conferences on like urban farming. We went right down some paths of trying to turn like vacant plots into veggie gardens and community gardens and stuff like that. But as you would know better than me, red tape always comes in.
Yeah.
You know, you might see a vacant plot and you're like, sweet, we could turn that into a garden. It'd be really good for the community. And then all of a sudden, well, hang on a minute. What if the ground's poisoned and who's going to look after it? And what if vandals come in? And like, I don't have time for that sort of stuff. Like I personally have a pretty short fuse for politics and stuff. So I admire like people like you who can stick with it. But
Hey, look, I've just got there through frustration, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just, and that's, I'm like, we can just do this better. It's like, why do we need 50 different levels of compliance and policy to hide behind when the outcome is right there and I can, you know, give you the outcome?
I haven't had a chance to listen to your Mark Partner one, but that I will listen back to that because I'm sure he probably laid some things out around, I think I'm a bit naive around governance as well, to be fair. Like I kind of give them some benefit of the doubt. Like there's probably some logic behind these reasons, or, you know.
The intent's always good. So the Urban Forest Act, you know, they want more greenery in the suburbs. They want to have more trees. They want to protect the trees that they've got. Great idea. Yeah. Love that. Yeah. You know, the suburbs, like the newer suburbs, you know, you don't have any established trees there, and it can be a bit of a barren sort of environment, you know, and be sterile. So I understand that, you know. Where it becomes difficult is if you're doing a deck or pergola, or you're, say, putting a retaining wall for a landscaping project or an outdoor living setup. That's where it becomes restrictive. And it's like, well, you know, let's bring some common sense. Now, common sense is a word that it is not common. Yeah. It's sort of like silence. It breaks itself. Yeah. You know, so the frustration there for me is around too much red tape. But I do know that we need regulation. Look, what I spoke to Mark Parton the main thing about it is when government's working well, you're not talking about the government.
Good point.
You know,
when things are broken.
When things are broken, you know that they're broken. And when it's hard to do anything, you know, I don't feel that the government's functioning in the way that it should.
Yeah, one thing I learned back when I was studying music business, there was a law or a semester on sort of copyright and legal. The law takes time to catch up. So, and you're seeing that now. Like, you know, there's enough bills out there crying out saying it's wrong, but that industry needs time to figure out how they're going to actually manage that. And they don't want to do a quick fix, I imagine. They want to figure out a way that it doesn't pop its head up again in a couple of years.
All the new stuff that gets brought in, the intent's right. It's just when there's so much of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's when it becomes difficult.
But the other sustainable stuff I'll just touch on. I mean, I see opportunities for plants everywhere. So I've already given you a hard time about the office. Like I'm poking fun, but like, you know, I was doing green walls because I was interested in that. You know, you look at buildings like that could be sick. But the reality is it costs money, time, someone has to look after it, and things can go wrong. Like, there's green walls that look great, and then if people stop caring for them, they die, and then that looks bad.
Yeah, well, we did one in our project at in Joe Bombra. Yeah. Well, the client did one. Yeah. He said he wanted one to us, and we went out and did some curation. And then he came back and said, "Oh no, I found a mob from Sydney. They're going to do it." And we said to him, "Be careful of what you get, because if the frost comes through, a lot of it will die."
Yeah, that's right.
This guy from Sydney was adamant that
the Green Wall Solutions.
It might have been, not sure.
I know him. Yeah.
But came down and most of it died. Yeah, to his credit, he came back and replaced and changed plants over and things like that. Yep. And it works really well now.
It looks awesome. Yeah, it's really difficult to come up. I've given this hours and hours of thought with plants that work in an exposed environment for a green wall in Canberra, because they need to stay in a small pot. They've got to stay exposed. They want to be interesting form and foliage. It's like there's some aloes and stuff that can do it, but it's really challenging. But yeah, like, I don't know, as apart from that, like, I mean, I think things like the light rail strip, seeing all those native plants and gums and stuff along there, like, it's probably a bit controversial for some people, but that sort of stuff's great. Like, that's going to introduce so many pollinators and insects, and like, just stuff like that's really, really good. So more of that.
Well, they've kept it the bush capital. That's what I like about it. Yeah. You know, it was like the low level grasses and the native plants all the way along there. It doesn't look like the tram sticks out like a sore thumb. Yeah. And I feel like they've whoever designed that garden, hats off to them.
Good urban planning.
Really good urban planning. Like it's not intrusive at all. Yeah. You know, it's really inviting and I like it. I mean, do I like the trees that were down there before? Maybe. But the tram is good.
Yeah, I think good design feels like it's always been there. And I actually did some planting yesterday, and that's literally what the client said. They're like, it's funny, it feels like it was always like this. And that was a fleur design. So that's good design thinking behind it. And yeah, I think the tram's similar. Like it can feel like it's always been there. I'm sure there's many people that probably dislike it, but I think when you talk about sustainability and appropriate planting, like it's always going to be a bit scraggy, there's going to be weeds, but native grasses, native trees, it's some smart decisions.
Yeah, for sure. Mate, how do you stay balanced? What do you do to avoid burnout? You're a busy man, and you seem to be, nailing you down for the podcast. That was a bit of a trick.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy to have you here.
Yeah.
How do you stay on the level?
Probably from failing at being on the level. So I'm sure you can relate to business burnout. But right now I'm in good space. I'm swimming. I go to the sauna when I can. I do morning walks with my partner. I don't have staff, so I can kind of sleep in to 5:36 when I want to. What else? Friends, family. Try and stay active.
You do any meditation?
No, I tried it maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I've just never stuck with it. I understand the benefits. And I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, it was every podcast with a high achiever, like, what have you done that's worked for you? I meditate every day. It changed my life. I did yoga for a bit. I should really do that again. That just is good for your stretching in your body. But just the standard stuff, man. I think swimming, if anything, like swimming is the one thing that has been a great like mental switch, and physically, like for my body, just help loosen up the back, and that's been awesome. And the sauna when I can, like that's one of my favorite things in the world.
Love the sauna.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I want one in my house so
Yeah,
bad.
I just saw one.
I want a proper one. They're like 20 grand.
The outdoor barrel, that's what I want.
No, I think, well, we're going to go down there. I've looked into this a bit. I don't think they get as hot as the other ones. But yeah, they look cool. But yeah, that's been a massive one for me, just mentally to switch off. I think boundaries, like as boring as it is, like I'm finally after 14, 15 years, just getting better at like setting my own boundaries with time that I work, weekend consults, and just switching off and spending time with my partner and watching a movie in the evenings instead of like the temptation to go and do that quote or whatever. Because I burnt out so many times.
It is really difficult, because and meeting you and talking with you, I feel like we've got a lot in common, and that is like you just want to do the best by the people, and you want, like, you have a reputation to protect, and you want to get that quote out quickly. You want to communicate all the time to the client, and it is hard to put boundaries in and go, actually, I can't meet you at 5:30. I've got X, or I've got, I know on Saturday, no, I can't meet you on Saturday.
Man, it's not sustainable. Like, that's why I said, I think I learned by burning out. Like this time last year, I was up at 4:35 most mornings because my brain was awake. I was smashing out quotes, emails, this and that. But then, and podcasts, I was recording the podcast, and I was just spinning wheels, but I was not, like, mentally I was not sharp. I was just getting by. Like, it was just adrenaline, I think, pushed me on. And then I went overseas for a few weeks, went to Italy for 6 weeks, good circuit breaker. And since I've been back, like, I'm still working very hard to get this new business going, but I'm trying to come up with systems and processes, it's another thing, to make it more sustainable. And I think a good thing about me is I'm not really just money driven. Like, my drive is to come up with like a systemized, scalable business model that's going to support my life first, and I just hope money follows. But I think if you just are focused on money alone, you're going to stress yourself
definitely
to death.
100%. I think if you're passionate about what you're doing, the money will come.
Yeah.
I think if you put in, a lot of effort to the detail and making sure, the emails are written well, or you're talking to people consistently, and you're setting those boundaries. Yeah, I think that's really important. To I try not to work on the businesses Saturday or Sunday, because I know that mentally burns me out.
Yeah, you got to refresh.
You have to refresh. And while we're talking about this, mental health in construction, I think, is a really important thing. I think we need to talk about it more.
Yeah, definitely. It's a shame that OzHelp, they shut up. I don't know if you know about them, but they were basically offering free counselling to tradies.
Yeah.
They used to be in Fishwick. There's probably Men's Link or other places like that, but I would love to see more businesses offer an easier way for their staff to get like free counselling. And I know it's not the answer for everything. Just thinking about the culture they're creating and stuff like that. It was something that I always tried to work on. You can always do more. You can always do the, end of project lunch or whatever. But you're right. There's definitely stigma. Hopefully it's changing. But yeah, it can always be better. I mean, you're probably more active with MBA than I am. Do they sort of team up with Men's Link or anything like that, or?
They were big with who did you just mention?
OzHelp.
Yeah. And then they've obviously sort of dropped away.
It's a shame.
I've actually got WorkSafe coming in to have a chat
Great.
in a few weeks. I want to talk to them about that. But
Awesome.
I think, look, what I do with my guys is I've got, it's what called rules of the game. So it's a company policy essentially written so that people can understand it. And in that, I've got a point there that it's consideration for others. And that's basically everyone's got their own challenges, and we support the people we're working with. Because at the end of the day, the people you're working with, you spend a lot of time with.
Yeah.
More than your wife, more than than your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, what's important is asking the people around you how they're going.
Yeah.
What's going on? You know when someone's not 100%.
Yeah.
Like you talk to a lot of people on the phone, and you get a feel for what that person's like. I had incidents recently where I was talking to someone that I've known for a while, and I felt that he was down. I said, "Hey, what's going on with you?" And came to find out he was doing it really, really tough.
Yeah.
Just going through a divorce and things along those lines. And we ended up talking for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, wow.
And what I think is important with trades and mental health is, understanding that everyone's got their own challenges. And then, being that person that, everyone talks about it like, oh, call me anytime. But actually be that person.
Yeah.
Like all you have to do is listen.
Yeah.
You don't have to give any feedback and just say, I understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know.
That's great advice. I'm really lucky in that my close friendship circle, we've always been great at this. Like we're always pretty open, I think uniquely for men. But within the industry, there's probably more that can be done, but it's also, there is that dynamic, I guess, of employer and employee that's a tricky one to navigate. Like you don't want to become their shoulder to cry on necessarily. Yeah, you want to be there to check in, but at the end of the day, they might not necessarily want to divulge too much to you, and you don't, it's probably not appropriate for you to get too involved in their life either.
It is a blurred line there, yeah.
So I think that's why I like places like OzHelp, and there's got to be something like that. Like I said, Men's Link or WorkSafe might have some ideas where, but then it's sort of also up to the company to break that stigma and just say, look, this is just company policy. Like you can almost make it a prerequisite. Like we really strongly recommend you go every 3 months, even if everything's sweet, or there's no stigma in this company about people that want to reach out for mental health. You don't even need to let us know. That's the number of the company. So I sort of spent a bit of time down this path as well. And as I said, like it's a real shame that OzHelp aren't around anymore because they were offering some great services, but there's got to be something out there similar, and hopefully, you can find it and have a chat to them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. If you're a business listening that wants to come in for a chat, get in touch with me.
Yeah.
We've gone so far off track.
That's right. There's no
but
track.
I love it, mate.
There's no track.
There is, yeah. Mate, talk to me about your leadership style. Like, you are an innovator. You are a leader within the industry. How do you operate? What's your leadership style?
I think I'm pretty hands off. I try to be hands off anyway. I think when I was landscaping is probably the best leadership, I guess, examples I can think of when you ask, like running a crew or two. Like the only way you can grow is if you empower your staff with the information they need to get the job done. So we created some simple but good systems, and I was always a big advocate for designs. So everyone had a literal page to go off. And then it was just a matter of us creating some pretty simple systems. So I just had to be transparent with my staff with what was on the quote to make sure they could execute it, and then just encourage them and try and create a safe space so that there's no judgment or chastising if things go wrong. It can be difficult because if you're not on site and you sort of go there in the morning and you see those pavers lines are a bit off or something, and you might sort of point it out, they're like, yeah, man, we're going to fix that at the end. Like, okay, no worries. So, you do that a few times and you kind of just have to trust them to just let it go. So I think it's probably trust. Like I think it's trusting that they've got the best intentions, and also just not being so worried that if things go a bit awry that it won't be fixable, or
you've given them the tools to make informed decisions, and you trust that they're going to do a good job.
And try and instill that. I always try to instill that sort of quality. There's no rush here, boys. Like, let's just take our time and get it right. Like, we've got to have a bit of pride in our work, and also no one wants to come back and fix things. So I probably instilled that a bit too hard because it meant we weren't the most profitable business, but I'm still really proud of the quality we produced.
You've done some fantastic work.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm super proud of it. Like I said, not necessarily the most profitable, but I still had a great time along the way. And I sleep well at night knowing that we did best by the clients, and hopefully the staff enjoyed it along the way, like making sure your staff are enjoying themselves every day. Otherwise, what's the point?
I think that's a key to success.
Yeah.
If they're not enjoying it, they're not creative. If they're not enjoying it, they don't care about the quality.
Yeah, and also calling them out. Like I think I was chatting to a builder mate of mine the other day, and like if they're not happy, like I don't want that. You don't want that. So let's talk about it. Like to your point before, like, are you okay? Like, you don't seem to be in the best headspace. And I've had this conversation with my staff a lot. Like, is everything okay, man? Because you don't seem to be in a very good space and you're kind of affecting the vibe here, but let's talk about it. Like, what's going on? And you're right. Like, once you ask, people normally divulge a fair bit of stuff. So I guess it's, just trusting staff, being approachable, all those sort of things.
Yeah. And you're, with Get Plants Delivered, like the leadership there is what you want to get plants to clients and what? Provide a cool service, or what's the?
I think
it's a weird question. I know.
No, I got an answer. I think I've thought about it a bit too, right? Because you got to figure out how you're going to sit in the market and what's going to set you apart. I think for me, it's almost like being that extra team member. So it's the person you don't have to pay, but it's the guy that I can just ask to do that thing, and I just trust that he'll do it. So you got to have high integrity with the plants that you're doing. Let them know if you can't get things or you have to sub it. Like, so it's just being that trusted extra member in a team, I guess, that can help them out. So helping solve problems, as you touched on, like we love doing that. I love a puzzle. It's like every plant list I get's a puzzle. I got to find them best price, best stock, and make sure I can get it to them by that time. So, and then if I say to someone, I'm going to need another week, they trust that I'm not just trying to dodge around it. Like, I literally need another week, or we're going to have to find something else. So it's, I think trust, again, like it probably just comes back down to being a trusted ally, I guess.
Now I want to talk about your podcast, Dan.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. What made you start the podcast?
I actually was checking back through notes and I wrote 3 things: learn, connect, and credibility, promote. So I wanted to learn from the guests. I wanted to connect with more people, and I wanted to promote the business. And I was doing all those things and I was really enjoying it. But as I've said to you off air, like, it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. Yeah.
I had a virtual assistant at the time, and I was about to go overseas. So I basically banked up a bunch of recordings, and then the VA was able to kind of do the production and stuff while I was away. But it's a
beast.
It's one of those things, yeah. And for me too, like you've touched on, I like to do things like to my own detriment, sort of bit of perfectionism nature in me, which is not a good thing.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So for me, like, you look at, I'm sure you probably listen to like the Modern Wisdom podcast, you look at his production, you're like, God, if I'm going to do one, I want to do that. Like, you don't forget that he's done it for 7 years and he's got hundreds of thousands. So then I've had to kind of check myself, and I've done that the last few months, where like, just have fun with it. Like, it's an adventure. Drop your standards a bit. Like, I wanted to do them all in person, so the quality was perfect, but like, that's not feasible all the time. So just accept a Zoom call sometimes. So I'm hoping to pick it back up.
You need to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also, I think I wasn't firm on the direction of it and what I was doing. That's becoming a bit clearer and a bit more structure. So it's been actually good to do a few, take some time off and revisit it. I think I still want to sort of talk to tradies, but I want to sort of get a bit more plant involved too. There's a new one that came out recently called The Sentimental Gardener, and she talks to people about their kind of stories and connections with plants and their memories and stuff. So I wouldn't mind interjecting a bit of that if I'm talking to sort of, some horts and plant nerds and stuff like that. Just make it a bit wholesome.
I think you and I have that in common. Like, I love talking to people. I love knowing that. I love finding out their story. I love finding out what motivates them and sort of finding out what I've got in common with them.
Well said.
It's you're exactly right. Like, I sort of had these like crazy standards that I was trying to, and then I thought, you know what? Look, I enjoy doing this, and I'm just gonna, get it out there. It might not be the most interesting to everyone, but it'll be interesting to the people that want to listen. And I think, if I'm enjoying it, great. The moment I'm not enjoying it, well, then I'll stop.
That's the perfect attitude. And I think I got caught in my own head a bit, if I'm being honest, with, like, oh, this is going to be boring. But I've had so much good feedback. Like, I was getting less than 100 listens per episode, but I've had a few people saying, like, when's it coming back, and keep it up. And that was a really great chat. So there's enough sort of complimentary stuff. But to your point, like, I was enjoying it. Like, I enjoyed the hours sit down to people and learning their story and connecting. And
it reignites my passion.
Yeah.
Not that I'm not passionate, but I just sit there and go, no, I do really love this.
Yeah.
And I guess the direction, I'm sort of similar again about the direction. I was unclear, and it sort of developed to me like after that TikTok inspector came to Canberra and roasted Canberra builders. I was like, I'm not standing for that.
Right.
I was like, we have some amazing builders in Canberra, and we've got some amazing businesses in construction, and I want to highlight them, and I want to put some positivity back into construction.
Yeah, I think there's, especially in Hort, there's a lot of great people flying under the radar. So I kind of like the idea of creating a platform for people to get their stories out there.
Definitely.
But yeah, I think underlying all of it is that, it's the just learning, connecting, and yeah.
Now you've built businesses really well, I might add.
Sometimes.
What's some advice for someone just starting out in business and how they can build their brand online?
I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but to be honest, like the last business failed. So I had a crack at Housemates, which...
But so many people saw that business.
Yeah, well, that's what I love. I love that side of it. But this is like, I want to be transparent. Like, I lost money. Like, just to... I think the advice that I have is have a crack. Like, don't be scared because there's a lot of satisfaction, but also don't be in the dark. There's going to be a lot of hard work. So... the advice is to think about your why, and I'm sure you've heard that. You know, Simon Sinek and other people talk about that. It's a bit of a cliche, but honestly, like if you don't have a strong reasoning behind why you're doing it, and don't ask me because I'm still working on mine. But if you don't have a strong foundation on like why you actually, I have strong ideas around why I want to work for myself and why I want to run a business, but you'll give up. Because you probably, I was thinking about this, what was the analogy I was going to give? You know, like grand designs, how it's always takes longer and costs more. I feel like business always takes longer and you earn less. Yeah. So it's like, you got to have that front of mind, but you got to remember why you're doing it. You're doing it for, I'm doing it for the, like the autonomy is huge for me. And the potential growth aspect. So I know for me, like I need to be able to see that if I put the work in, or if I want to change something, probably more important, if I want to change something, I can do it tomorrow. Like I just employed a VA. I could do that. No one has to stop me. And when I was thinking about what career I wanted to do, potentially apart from Revive Landscapes, I got stuck because my partner rightfully said, like, you would hate being in an office. Like, and I did, like when I worked in music business, like even with a couple of staff, like there can be office politics and gossip and meetings, and you get asked to do things that don't make sense. And so for me, like, a big part of it is
being in control of your destiny.
Yeah. And like that comes with a shitload of responsibility, and you got to be ready for that because it can get lonely. And that's why I connect with a lot of people. But the rewards are there. Sometimes it's hard to see them, but yeah, there's sort of intangible rewards, I guess. That's just like a sense of pride. Like part of the reason why it was so hard for me to pack up Revive is because it felt like my third arm. It was like a massive part of my identity that I'd built, and it was hard to imagine moving on to that. So, you know, you can get caught up in the identity, but that's part of living as well. Like if you can have something that you're really passionate about and really invested in, I don't know that you would get that from everyday job, but it's not for everyone.
That's right. It is hard.
Yeah.
Like you're thinking about it all the time. It's all consuming and you want to do well in it. It's your reputation. So it's definitely a challenge, but I do think that you're right, that it does provide a lot of opportunity, and you get to set your own sort of rules.
But don't do it for the money.
Don't do it for the money.
Like we talk about it, but honestly, like
the money will come.
If someone's listening to this and like they're thinking about it, I don't want to deter them, but I want to like tell them what someone didn't tell me. Like I said, it's going to take longer. You're going to earn less. Like for the first few years, I'm sure you're the same. I was investing everything back in, hoping it would pay off. But the truth is, things get more expensive. Like things just pop up. Like, but the satisfaction I've had has been great. So I mean, I know people who have stopped business and they're on a salary now and they're in a better financial position and they're working less and they're more at peace. But I think you have to go through it to get there.
Yes.
But advice would be don't do it for the money and have a clear reason why you're doing it. I think that'd probably be it.
Well, the passion will get you through.
Yeah.
I think if you are extremely passionate about it and you don't give up, that will get you through.
Yeah.
But if you have any doubt, I would say probably best not to.
And set boundaries, I guess, actually would be another good lesson because that took me a while.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Why do you think, Dan, that younger people aren't getting into construction or trades?
It's pretty hard.
It is a hard question.
No, it's hard. I mean, it's hard work. It's
well, yes, yeah.
It is a hard question too, but I actually don't know the stats. I think because I taught at CIT landscape a bit, and they had a couple of classes going, so I think there are still some decent numbers coming through. But from the other side of it, as an employer, it's hard to find apprentices. So I actually don't know what the history of kind of stats are. Look, I think there's a few things. I've thought about this a fair bit. Like, I think, careers day at schools, I think could promote trades. Look, I should say I don't actually know a lot about what they do, but they probably could do more around promoting trades. I think it's this whole.
Can I say with landscaping though, I felt like it just gets left out a lot.
Oh, 100%.
Like it's like carpentry, plumbing, this, and Sparky. But landscaping in that trade doesn't really come into it all that often.
Yeah, and this is what I touched on before. Like I feel like I'm still on the fence about licensing, but one thing it would potentially do was like raise the profile of being a landscaper potentially. But look, it's a tough industry, man. Like you can't sugarcoat that. It's extremely physical and hard work. And I think people need to, again, like have a clear reason why they're doing it and just be encouraged, hopefully, to do it. I'm not sure about the barriers to entry. Like I know you can do like school-based apprenticeships and stuff like that are great. I wonder if there's something we can do even prior to that, like a little 2-week trial, if that was more sort of normalized.
I'd say give it a go.
Give it 100%. Yeah, give it a go.
If you're not sure about school or, and you find it hard to concentrate and you love sport, I think landscaping is for you, or a trade for sure. But I had this thought the other day as well. And I keep talking about getting young people into the trades, but what I'm forgetting is there's also people that are working in office that probably want to come across and move into construction. They're probably not sure about how to do that. Some of my best apprentices have been mature age apprentices.
Yeah.
They've come across, they've got a family. Yeah, the money's difficult at the start because you're getting paid to learn.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely an avenue we need to maybe promote a bit more as well. Like,
I think it's hard to find people that have that long-term mentality. Like I've actually had pretty staff that stayed with me a fair while, but I definitely know in the industry there's maybe, 18, 19-year-old apprentices that do a year or two. They don't like going to tech. They're getting paid bugger all. They know they can get paid more labouring in a different career. I think it's more of a society thing about how do we get people to think about their life career or their 5-10 year career rather than just how much I'm getting paid right now. And I don't know the answer to that. That's a huge question. But I think just if we can somehow maybe make it the barrier to entry easier so that it's easy to just come on for a week, try it out.
And that's what's difficult at the moment. You need to get 15 tickets.
That's very true, actually.
Maybe there's something like the barrier to entry, that's what makes it hard. You've got to go and spend, close to $1,500 on courses before you can even step foot on construction site.
Which makes sense because there's obviously a lot of hazards and we don't want people getting hurt. But that would be one thing front of mind. And again, this comes down to like policies and governance.
Yeah,
and
the intent behind those is good.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't want people, digging up asbestos or
100%.
hitting a bathroom with a grinder with asbestos.
Exactly.
Those sort of things are important. Yeah, but that barrier to entry. It's a construction site. Make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something definitely. I like to bring that up every podcast because I feel like somewhere along the way.
Yeah, there's a lot more discussion to have for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like you brought up some good points today. I feel like eventually we're going to solve that and get a bit of a plan together and maybe put it to someone who can make a change or make it easier. Yeah, but highlighting it's important.
Yeah, it's also, I think I always catch myself like just because I'm passionate about it doesn't mean others won't. I think one of my favourite moments for teaching for the very brief career I had was the start of, I think, the first class I had a bunch of Parks and Gardens students, all mixed age, sex, and I was just teaching machinery. And one of the first questions I asked to sort of get to know them was like why they chose their apprenticeship. And it was really interesting to hear their answers. And I deliberately did it because I was curious, but also I kind of wanted them to verbalise why they were there in that classroom to make it clear on like...
Reaffirm why they're there.
100%. And I think, again, back to that why piece, like if people know why they want to do something, you can stick with it. But if you're sort of just floundering, so out of that class, I think there was 15, 16 that had a straight answer, like, want to be outside, want to be connected to nature, really love plants, really love being active. And there was like one in the class that was like, oh, I don't know, just popped up. My dad told me I should do it. So I found that interesting that I actually thought more of the class would be that way. But majority of the class had a really clear reason as to why they were there. And it's actually not that surprising in that sort of industry because you do have to be pretty passionate. You're not going to earn a lot of money as a parks ranger. It'd be a good job, plenty of diversity. So, yeah, there's a few things.
All right, now let's talk about business. Well, we've been talking about business the whole time, haven't we? Where do you want to go with Get Plants Delivered? Is it scale, get national, or are you just happy where you're at? What's the plan there? Are you not sure?
No, I've got plenty of plans and ideas, but again, I think I've learned to sort of curb my enthusiasm a bit. I have a tendency of like going a bit too hard and over romanticizing my idea. Like I had a chat with a VA agency yesterday and you know, I got excited and they want you to sign up and spend 15 grand on a 5-month thing and you'll have someone full time. But I just know that, you know, I don't need that stress yet. But for me, it's going to be progressive. I think I've gone through, thankfully with landscaping, the whole, I got one crew humming, all right, let's get another crew here. That's going to be better. But you just learn that twice as many crews means twice as much work, twice as much stress, less money. So because I've had that experience, I'm going slow and steady. It's been really refreshing having no staff. I'm going to, like I said, I've got a VA starting today, which will be easier to manage.
Virtual assistant.
Yeah, and more affordable, so less expense. I've definitely learned over the years how easy it can be to add to your overheads and all of a sudden you're spinning your wheels. So I'm trying to be smarter about that. So like my goals are high. I would love to have, you know, get plants delivered, known everywhere in Canberra, everyone being able to access it, those plant guides out there, you know, plants going left, right and centre. But also I'm earning a salary right now. I've got a pretty good lifestyle. It's tiring, like I'm doing a lot of work. So I would like to make it more sustainable and more systemized and then allow me to grow. But I mean, I think I'd only need a couple more staff, like a truck driver and someone to do consults, and that'd be enough. But I guess
you pump out a lot doing that.
Yeah, I guess I trust that I'll solve the problems as they arise, and if it makes sense, then I'll keep growing. But I'm trying to remind myself that you don't need to just get that yard because you want it. You don't need to get that full-time staff. Maybe you don't need to get that truck driver. Like that's going to add to your bottom line. So I'm just sort of being a tentative approach.
Well, that's the thing that all business owners will understand. It's like you forget to practice gratitude. It's like, if I just get to here, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
If I just get to here, it's like the never-ending horizon.
Yes.
And I've had to learn that really hard.
I think it's the only way to learn, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, sitting back and actually going, oh, wait up. I've gone through 5 different things I wanted to get to in the last,
Yeah, and still want more.
And still want more. It's just a never-ending thing.
Yeah.
But enjoying the journey and enjoying the difficulty of the journey, I think, has been important for me.
Yeah. I think for me this time it's like quality over quantity. So I'm trying to make a really schmick, streamlined business that hums.
What's working well right now?
My quoting process is getting streamlined. But look, this is a hard business. It's a lot of logistics to solve every day. I think what's working well is repeat customers. Word of mouth is spreading without me really trying. As I said, I'm sort of earning a base wage already after a couple of years. I'm really proud of that. Lots of things that can be improved. But yeah, that seems to be going pretty well. So I guess just reputation is going well.
I think, it's sparking a lot of things in my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
It's hard to put into words. It's you don't want to ever like rest on your laurels. It's always, you've got to be, pushing harder and harder and harder. And, I talk to a psychologist often because I need to get my brain straightened out.
Yeah.
Thinking, linear. And his thing is, if you, at the moment, like you're concentrating, say you do 100 things in a day.
Yeah.
He's like, out of those 100 things, you'll do 95 well.
Yeah.
But you are obsessing over the 5 things that you don't do well.
Yeah, it's human nature, I guess.
Yeah. Like just concentrate on the 95 things that you're doing well.
Yeah, you got to be kind to yourself as a business owner. Like we've touched on, if you're a driven human, it's going to be always a sense of, I wish I did more. And I think we're always going to steer towards the one thing we did wrong that day. That's just, again, human nature. We're going to focus on the mistake rather than the good thing. So we make sure we get it right next time.
Yeah. All
All
right, let's go into the quick fire round, which is never ever quick fire.
Sure.
So don't feel like you have to answer the questions quickly.
Try my best.
What's one tool you can't live without?
Oh, I touched on that meat hook.
Meat hook?
Now that I've got it, it's it's saving the back.
Did you get that? So you got that fabricated?
Yeah, it's literally like it's almost like a hammer. Like it's just a stick of metal with a handle on the front and a hook, so you can just hook it around the bag or the pot. Like it's a bit of scrap metal, but the fact that I'm doing this repetitive motion that's weighing down on my back, like it's just one of those little things that it's probably like a nail bag,
Yeah.
You just once you have it, you're like, how would I work without it? So yeah.
What's the biggest myth about landscaping or the plant business?
I don't really have a good answer for that one. I might need someone else to tell me what the myths are. Maybe that we're making a lot of money, or that we can do it ourselves. Maybe that's another one. Like, you know, those clients you'll be in front of where they're sort of, the classic, like, we do it, we just don't have enough time. And you're looking at this like, you know how many machines and how many tons of soils coming in and out, and that it's going to be 3 months work. And so, I don't know, maybe there's a myth that the
Landscaping
skill
is easy.
It's a skill, yeah, or that it's a skilled trade. Like, again, to touch on what you were saying, like maybe that's the myth, I guess.
I had a client say that to me one day that he could do it, and then he goes, you know, why bark when you've got a dog? And I was like, thanks, mate.
Gee whiz.
Thanks, mate. It was a great job.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you could fix one thing in the industry tomorrow, what would it be?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm sort of on the fence with that licensing thing. One pet sort of hate over the years, or not even pet hate, just bugbear, has just been reluctance to get a design done. So if there's something I could fix, it'd be, I guess, people respecting the process of getting a landscape design done to need the best result. Because I just think the amount of people that just want to dodge that and go direct to the landscaper, it was like a $200,000 project, and just that expectation of the landscaper to design their landscape for them and then not, get everything spot on without having a designer do that work. Like, they study university for 4 years. They spend a week or more designing the documentation. Like, I think I would love to see more of a respect for that process. And along with that, I would love to see more builders, like Status Living are doing this really well, either have an arm or collaboration with landscapers and actually hand over a finished product. And I know there's lots of complications around that. Like,
those boys are doing it really well. They've got that, and they've got that landscaping arm that does a fantastic job too.
And they would leave a good product, which only helps the industry. Their product looks so much better. Like, the house sits beautifully, obviously, with a garden around it. But I know from experience that what often happens is changes during the construction process choose into any variations, and their budget goes.
Yeah, it's like the block. Leave money for landscaping. Leave money for landscaping.
Or grand designs.
Yeah, or grand designs. Yeah.
But so there's a couple of things, but I'm also a realist, so I know that that's tough. Like, it's at the end of the day, people have limited money, but maybe there's just another. I guess another thing, just the mentality, like the mentality of like garden, a landscape being an investment rather than like a hindrance. Like, don't buy a block of land if you don't want to. Invest in creating a beautiful space. Like, live in an apartment. There's nothing wrong with that.
Or a townhouse with a garden that's maintained.
Yeah, but I think just over the years, I started to get a bit worn down with like basically feeling like you're bleeding a stone, trying to get as much money out of, like, trying to get $100,000 to landscape this huge block, and they still like, oh, sorry, mate, I've got 60.
Yeah.
And like, well,
you got these grand plans and ideas, and you got to chop it all up. And
we'll turf the lot.
Yeah.
And I like doing that, so. Yeah, I want to get creative gardens. So that's why my point's on hopefully more
Getting
people.
design.
Yeah, get designs. Get change that.
We tell our clients that the value is in the difference of levels. So landscaping, I feel, is really important with making all the different levels work.
Yeah.
So that when you step out of your home, everything flows in nicely.
Yeah, it's got to get. I mean, again, it's cohesive design. Like, it's not an easy thing. Like, architects, landscape architects, designers, like, they spend a lot of time, learning about how to make a space feel like it makes sense.
Yeah.
So to expect someone to just do that for you for free, like, that's just not acceptable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point. All right. Best advice you've ever received, Dan?
Look, I've thought about this too. I can't think of like one piece of advice, but I think one thing I've done well is talk to a lot of people. So not be shy to voice or vent to landscapers or business folk and just talk it out. So there's not like one piece of advice, but I've had many great mentors over my time that have been more experienced or less experienced, either in my field, not in my field. So, yeah, sorry, mate, don't have like the sentence for you, but it'd just be an encouragement to just talk to people.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is, lean on the people around you.
Yeah, 100%.
And ask questions. Like, I hadn't really met you before I asked you to come on the podcast, and a lot of people that I've been asking to come on the podcast, I'm like, I'll see how this goes. And it's been positive.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what's it about? What are we doing? What are we talking about?
Yeah, people want to chat, man. People want to share their stories. People want to, solve problems. So
I feel like that though is coming more into, look, there's a lot of deck builders that are helping each other out. And there's a lot of builders out there, I feel, that are putting information out on social media. Hey, this is how I do this.
Yeah.
This is how I do that. So I think we are getting there with it.
Yeah, it's good content.
Yeah, it is good content for sure.
Entertaining.
What would you tell your younger self starting out, Dan?
I'll chill out. It's I think I've spent a lot of time and years probably being anxious about the next job and the next problem to solve, and I touched on that, like the importance for me to have a job that I'm connected with. I've spent a lot of time being like, shit, what am I going to do if this isn't working out? I think just trust yourself that you'll figure it out is probably the advice I would give myself, because you can easily spiral into like a stress ball where you're just like, I'm not happy, but what am I going to do? Shit, I don't know. Everything's failing, and I'd probably just say, just back yourself, mate. You'll figure it out.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
Absolute gold here, mate. I'm really enjoying talking to you. What keeps you grounded outside of work?
I think that stuff I touched on, like swimming, sauna, but and boundaries, time with my partner, snowboarding in the winter, trying to get to the coast in the van in the summer. Don't do as much of those things as I would like, but and just I catch up with my good schoolmates once a month, things like that. Just making sure it's not all about work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We work to live.
Yeah. It's another cliche, but it's true for a reason. Like I said, I haven't been the most profitable guy, but I've got a lot of satisfaction out of it. But the older I get, the more you learn that, like, even if I had another 50, 100, 200 grand in the bank, my life would look very little different. Yeah. Like, it's not all about the money. It's more important about,
the lifestyle, enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah. Yep.
Someone in the industry that deserves a shout out.
Yeah, I think I thought about this. I think actually Jared Paul, he used to run Land Culture. He's a landscaper. He used to run Land Culture. He's now working for Adapt, but he's that guy that's kind of flying the flag. So he's got the energy on the board. He's a director now for the Landscape Association. He's really the guy driving this Floreal display gardens. And a lot of the ideas I've said today, I've kind of stolen from him around sort of careers days at schools and stuff like that. So he's someone that has that passion, and you can probably have a chat to, but
He come on the pod, you reckon?
Yeah, you would.
Come have a chat?
I reckon he would. But yeah, he's got that passion, and he backs it up with getting shit done. And I respect that a lot. So I think he probably deserves a shout out.
Perfect. Where can we find you, Dan? I want to actually get up your Instagram while we're just finishing up.
Yeah.
There's Get Plants Delivered there.
So
it looks fantastic, mate.
Yeah, my branding got a bit confusing because I had an indoor e-commerce business being housemates. I had this kick off at the same time, and then had the podcast, and I basically spoke to Good Times, like, how am I going to do this? It's scrambling my brain. So basically this is supposed to be like a holding page, really. Like, it's just has the information you need. But the Dan the Plant Man Instagram is probably the best one.
This is the one here.
I may end up just changing that to Get Plants Delivered.
There he is, look at him.
Yeah, I might end up flipping that to Get Plants Delivered at some point and just shut down the other one. I'll probably close up Housemates. I think one thing I'm learning is less is more in my time, finally, at 38. Trying to do too many things just sends you a bit crazy. But I enjoy the platform, and I've got a lot of content ideas. It's just that time, and I'm being good with my own boundaries. I'm practicing what I preach. If it's 6 o'clock and I get home after a long day, I don't want to spend another hour creating a reel. I want to cook dinner and chill out and watch a movie. So this is probably the best place for me, and obviously that'll direct to the website and everything. And hopefully you'll start seeing some podcast clips.
Yeah, I want to get this changed.
Yeah, that was
100%.
that was not supposed to be up there that long. But you know what? I'm trying to be kind to myself about that. I was pretty hard on myself at the time. When I launched, I was adamant I was going to do one a week. I was going to hit that 21 podcast to be in the top percentile or whatever, and just keep kicking it. But
you're not finished though. I look at that going, you're not finished.
And that was deliberate. And to some of the points we've talked about, I burnt out, man. I was running on adrenaline before I went overseas. Burnt out, and I'm finally feeling the energy and the creative juices flowing again. And this has been good today. It's a reminder of connecting and having good chats. So I think I'll pick it back up with a bit more clarity and structure hopefully soon. And also say this to myself so I can watch this back, is not to have the same sort of perfectionism kind of hanging over me. Just have some good chats and get it out there.
Oh, look, I think if you just go into it with a clear mindset of, hey, I want to talk to people.
Yeah.
Dan, your personality will come through, and I really enjoy talking to you. I enjoy listening to you as well.
Thanks, mate.
I want to highlight this. Dan's doing the CEO sleep out again, and if I can say here, you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, I think it's my 8th year. Mate, I'm glad you brought this up.
This is fantastic, mate. You need more recognition for this. That is a lot of money, dude.
My biggest goal with this is not around how much I raise. What I would love to see this doing next year, maybe you can help me with this, is get more tradesmen out there So it's badly branded, CEO Sleep Out, but it's for directors, small business owners. Like they don't care. If you're influential in your business or your role, like they want you to get involved, help raise awareness for homeless, raise money for homeless. So Vinnie's do a lot of great programs that I've seen firsthand, like the Night Patrol van. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. They go out every single night of the year. They hand out tea, coffee, sandwiches, blankets, sleeping bags to people that are doing it rough. They offer services for people finding phones, finding jobs. Like they're amazing. So they raise like $1 million some years in Canberra. So it's a huge event. And yeah, I've been lucky to be a part of it. But I last year sort of tried to get a few people together. I got sort of half a dozen or so. But next year, because it's a bit late now, I would love to get more trades businesses involved because their network, that's going to spread. It's a very corporate kind of event.
Let's infiltrate it. Let's get
100%.
Let's get some construction.
Let's do
taking
it.
this over.
And this is a good platform, actually.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Look, Dan, you've raised $52,000 so far.
Yeah.
That's an amazing effort. You have been very, very consistent with it. And yeah, I'll be definitely throwing some money in
Thanks,
there, mate. And
appreciate it.
Look,
People are very
hats off
generous.
to you. How do you go sleeping out at night? Can you take a swag? Is it like camping or what?
I'm cringing. It's the worst night of the year. But that's why I love it, because it's an event where you genuinely put yourself in the position of someone sleeping rough. So you get given 3 pieces of cardboard and you can take a sleeping bag, and they've started allowing you to take a pillow. The first years it was just a sleeping bag, and it was also outside. So anyone who's done the sleep out, the famous year was the airport a few years ago. I think it was -8, felt like -8 or something. But because of where it was, like big concrete slab, it was the coldest I've ever been. My feet froze while they were doing the information thing. It was actually pretty cool though. The flight, like a plane came in at like 11 p.m. and early in the morning. So that was pretty cool. Like we slept in a hangar or next to a hangar. But it is rough. Like the best years are if it's a bit warmer. If it's above 0 degrees, it's not too bad. But it's typically on the coldest night of the year, it seems to be. Nice. So it is rough. You're in a sleeping bag. I'm wearing thermals and all my layers, and you just tuck in, put up with it for a few hours. And the reason I keep doing it is because people are so generous. Like I haven't actually hooked into the fundraising this year, but I'm pretty confident I'll hit my $8,000 goal. And like people throw $500, $1,000. Like I think it's a cause that people feel passionate about. So I can be discomfort for one night to try and raise money.
Well done, mate.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
I'll see you there next year.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll be there next year.
Locked in.
Mate, that's pretty much us. But give me your favorite quote to finish things off.
I actually found one in my scrapbook, which I think is pretty appropriate. So I had this quote written in here that says, "The magic you are looking for is in the work you're avoiding."
Fantastic.
And that's good for me as a procrastinator and as an overthinker, because I can have ideas and then you kind of put it off. And I think that's actually pretty true right now for me. Like the magic, this plant card thing that I want to do, I think that could be a lot of magic for the business. So I've been avoiding it, but if I can lean in, it could lead to some good things.
Mate, I know success is going to follow you anywhere you go.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks very much for coming in and having a chat today. I've enjoyed every moment of it.
Me too.
This is one of the longest podcasts we've done so far.
Yeah, right. Time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, thanks very much. And I want to get you back, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Easy.
Cheers.
Thank you.